Hello everybody and welcome once again to our assembly. As you can see, I've gone a little bit bananas. However, these are not ordinary bananas, these ones, no. These are quite special bananas because these are fair trade bananas. I'd like to share a little bit more information with you this morning all about fair trade.
When did you last go to a supermarket to buy food? Did you notice this logo on any foods? The symbol means that what you are buying is from a producer who takes part in the Fair Trade scheme. Lots of the food you find in our shops was grown or made with ingredients that were grown abroad. Foods like bananas come from farms in hot countries. They are sold to businesses that trade in fruit before ending up at the supermarket here. You might think that you're paying a fair price for your bananas, but the farmer who grew them may have been forced to sell them very cheaply. Often, only a tiny bit of the money you pay for something goes to the person who actually produced it. Many farmers have no power to demand a fair price. They earn little money and they work in poor conditions for too many hours every day, while the companies that sell their products make lots of money from them. The Fair Trade scheme means that farmers are paid a fair price for their produce. They have much better working conditions and enough money to pay for things like education and healthcare.
The wonderful thing about fair trade is it's a very practical, easy way that you and me can make a difference to tackling poverty just by changing the products we buy when we go shopping.
There are over 1.5 million farmers and workers spread across more than 73 countries participating in fair trade. And there are now 6,000 different products bearing the logo sold in the UK. The aim of Fair Trade Fortnight is to make everyone more aware of the Fair Trade scheme. Next time you're in a shop, see if you can spot some of them.
So as we've just seen, this is the Fair Trade logo. And when I go to the supermarket, this is something which I'll look out for on the things which I'm going to buy. The logo itself represents a number of different things. The colour blue represents hope, hoping for a better future for the farmers. The green represents growth for the people who grow all the crops which the supermarkets use. If you look carefully in the middle, it's like a person there putting their hand up, almost asking to be treated fairly. Now that we can all recognise the Fair Trade logo, I'd like us all to spend a few minutes now thinking about what it means to have a choice. I think that having a choice is about having the chance or the opportunity of choosing between different things. When you're making a choice, you get to weigh up the good things and the bad things about the different options. This morning, many of you, just like me, might have had to choose what to eat for breakfast. Did you choose cereal or toast? And if you choose to have cereal, did you choose to eat Shreddies or Frosties or maybe something different? Did you choose between having a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or maybe even a cup of hot chocolate? Did you choose what clothes to wear today? School uniform, something casual, or maybe even stay in your pyjamas for the day? Whatever you choose, it's really important to remember that we should always aim to make good choices. The choices we should make should be good for ourselves as well as our friends and our families, and also for the people living elsewhere around the world. This morning, when I'd finally chosen what I'd like to eat, I realised before I finished my breakfast that I had just depended on more than half of the world to provide my food for me. Just look at the different parts of the world where some of my breakfast has come from this morning. I'm sometimes sorry to say that when I walk down the aisles at Tesco, I don't always think, though, about where all of the foods on the shelves have come from. I just know that when I walk into the store, all of the shelves will be stocked high with food for me to buy. We should try to remember that there's a story behind everything we buy and everything which goes into our trolley. Let's spend a few minutes now sharing Basilo's story. Basilio is a farmer in the Dominican Republic who grows the cocoa which so many of us use each week in so many different things.
Hi, I'm Taina, and I'm going on a journey to find out how we're linked to people across the world by the choices we make and the things we buy, as well as finding out what life is like for the people who grow our food. I once heard a teacher tell us this Martin Luther King saying, "Before you finish eating your breakfast in the morning, you've depended on more than half the world." So you could have bananas from Colombia, nuts from Senegal, and orange juice from South Africa. I've never really thought much about where my food and clothes come from. I mean, it's just always been there, readily available in shops. I love hot chocolate. So do all my friends. I don't know anyone who doesn't like it. And it's not just hot chocolate that cocoa is used for. It's used to make many things, such as chocolate bars, ice cream, cakes, moisturiser, shower gel, and soap. But how do you get hot chocolate from a cocoa bean? To find out how hot chocolate's made, I'm heading to the Dominican Republic, an island in the Caribbean where cocoa beans are farmed. The Dominican Republic has about 10 million people living here. The average temperature is 26 degrees and 78.8 Fahrenheit. Its main language is Spanish. Hola! 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 Basilio works for Conocado, a fair trade cooperative of cocoa farms. A cooperative is where lots of farmers join together to help each other out.
Welcome to the Dominican Republic and Conocado. Come with me so I can show you around.
The first place Basilio took me to was a cocoa farm in Los Brazos, which is part of Conocado. Basilio told me that when the cocoa pod is ripe, it turns yellow and the farmer cuts it from the tree. I got to try out cutting the pod down from a tree. It was hard work. Yay! The farmer cuts open the pod to get the cocoa beans inside. Smells fruity. Then the cocoa beans are fermented. Fermenting does a few things to them. It takes away any remaining pulp that may be stuck to the bean and kills any germs inside. There are 3 stages to fermenting the beans. At each stage, they are moved to a new wooden box to ferment. After this, the beans are dried on shelves with holes in them so the air can flow. They are moved around, which gives them a more chocolatey colour as well as a chocolatey flavour. They smelled much more like chocolate at this stage. And this is what cocoa looks like when it is sold to different companies across the world. It is put into bags and labelled, ready for a long journey across the world. Some companies make fair trade hot chocolate and fair trade chocolate ice cream with this cocoa. When they leave the Dominican Republic, the cocoa beans are shipped to factories in Europe, where they are turned into 3 products: liquid chocolate, cocoa butter, and cocoa powder. The cocoa powder is used to make my favourite drink, hot chocolate, as well as used for baking. When all products are ready, they are shipped to the UK to sell in shops. Whilst being here, I found out that the chocolate industry is worth a huge £4 billion. We get through roughly 660,000 tonnes of chocolate bars each year in the UK. This is the equivalent weight of nearly 4,000 blue whales. But cocoa farmers across the developing world, including farmers here in the Dominican Republic, are struggling as they live on very little money. When people struggle to live on very little money, it is known as poverty. If cocoa is worth so much, why are the people that are producing it living in poverty?
The traders who buy the cocoa and the chocolate companies who use it to make their products are much more powerful than the farmers. They control the prices and the demand. companies are driven by profit, so they're keen to get the best deal they can for the cocoa they buy. And the farmer is the one that receives the least in the chain. Therefore, they will always be fighting against poverty.
Prices for goods like cocoa can rise and fall, making it difficult for farmers to plan because it's unpredictable. Cocoa farmers in the developing world struggle to survive against such odds. So no matter how hard they work, farmers might not even be able to afford basics. They have to cut back on things that matter. I wanted to find out the different ways fair trade can help farmers.
So what are the benefits of fair trade? What is it like now for people?
So before fair trade, the farmers and producers didn't have any security in terms of the price and the sales of their cocoa and were struggling. But now it's more secure because there's a fair trade minimum price, which covers the cost of the production of the cocoa. And if the world market price is higher than the fair trade minimum price, the farmers also receive the higher price, so it is fair. This allows the farmers to plan ahead, make improvements. For example, in their personal lives, they can have better housing and the possibility to send their kids to school and universities, which wasn't always possible before.
This protection means they can have a stable income and plan for the future.
What other benefits are there?
So farmers also receive a fair trade premium, which is a kind of community pot of money that allows the creation of community projects, such as the supply of water and electricity, the refurbishment of schools and community centers for everyone in the area. This not only makes the life of the farmer better, but also their families.
I decided to talk to cocoa farmers and their families at Conocado to ask them what life was like before they joined Fair Trade and whether it has made a difference to their lives. I met a farmer called Ambrosia who told me about what life was like before Fair Trade.
How was it before you had fair trade?
If I started telling you, I will never finish. It was bad, really bad. We used to get paid very, very little. I had to go to take water on the back of a donkey. I could only take 2 containers at once, and by the time I wanted to wash the clothes, the children have already wasted their water, so I needed to go back again.
How has fair trade helped you?
We have water. We can now shower at any time, and we don't have to measure it. Before, it was only a few liters per person, but it is no longer the case, thanks to joining Conocado, as they have provided us with running water.
I also met Mariella, who is the daughter of a cocoa farmer. She told me how fair trade has affected her community.
Lack of running water made our community behind, as people had to go and collect water before going to work and school, which made them late. It was also hard for me because when I was supposed to be doing my homework, I instead had to go and find water because we didn't have it, and I had to go a very long way to get it, about 2 miles.
How has fair trade helped you and your family?
Fair trade has helped us because now we have things like running water, electricity, and the drainage system in our house.
It's easy to just see a shiny wrapper in the shops and not think too much about how it got to you. I know I need to think differently.
People don't realise that there's a story behind everything we buy, everything that goes into your trolley. Now I'll remember when I'm going shopping that there's a country, a community and a family behind everything I buy.
Hopefully now we can begin to see that the choices which we make don't just affect us, but also affect the lives of so many others too. Sometimes our choices will have a really big effect on the lives of others too. The things which we buy and enjoy have a big effect on the lives of other people. Everything we eat, wear and play with has to be grown or made by someone somewhere. And the products we buy will make a difference to the sort of lives these people have. The more we learn about the people we rely upon, the more likely we are to want to make good choices.
My name is Claire and I work for the Fair Trade Foundation, and today I'm going to show you how you can make a big difference through the choices that you make every day. The only thing that you need for this activity is you. You have so many chances throughout your day to make a difference to people around the world and to the planet that we live on. One way to make a difference is through the things that you choose to eat, drink or wear. Everything you buy, every t-shirt, every pen, every bar of chocolate has a story stretching back months or even years before it came to you. From its very beginnings on a farm or a mine to the shelf of a store in your town, the things we buy to eat, wear and use have been through lots of places and sometimes lots of processes. At every step of the way there are people. Your products can have a big effect on the people and the places along the way. The companies who make and sell the products often don't pay the farmers very well for their hard work. The farmers end up trapped in poverty. These companies will try harder with their farmers if they think their consumers, that's you, care about the farmers and their lives. Choosing products that have been produced, giving farmers a better deal, is a way that you can choose to change the world. So, buying fair trade products is one way to make a huge difference in the world, but how else can you change the world through your choices? Today I'm in Cooper, a fair trade town in Scotland, and I'm going to meet some amazing change makers to help get some ideas.
Our family is really concerned about all the chemicals going into the air, so I've been researching ways to stop it. One of the ways is to grow organically. An example is, in lockdown, me and my dad made a herb business and it was organic. All the chemicals from not being organic is going into the atmosphere and damaging the planet. It's letting too much sunlight in and melting all the icebergs, so polar animals have nowhere to live anymore.
I've decided I'm going to try reuse that rubbish. Like I could make a plastic bottle into a bird feeder to help the birds, and I could change leftover cardboard boxes into games like this one. And I think that if everyone does a little, it can do a lot.
Hi, me and my family really like the ocean, so we've decided to cut down on plastic as much as we can. When we do use plastic and we can't recycle them, we put them into big bottles like this, so when they go to landfill, they don't blow away into the ocean and animals don't get hurt. We also use beeswax wrapping like this, so we don't use plastic wrapping and it doesn't go into the ocean and animals get hurt. So let's save our oceans.
I wear fair trade school uniform because I think the Indian cotton farmers that make it should be paid properly to feed their family and themselves, also to buy medicine and clothes. I think we should encourage people to buy more fair trade items. The quality of the cardigans the cotton farmers produce is also very good and lasts a very long time. Even teachers wear them.
If we all work together to make choices that help both people and planet, we can change the world for the better. Thank you for watching.
So thank you everyone for once again joining us for this assembly. Have a great weekend and try to remember that it's up to all of us to make good choices each and every day, since these will help to create the world which we all want. Enjoy Fair Trade Fortnight.